Who are you to label someone as toxic? Are you toxic? Make your own bed before trying to change the world, maybe. So toxic people are your mirror. You're welcome. And now live, our correspondent MG the G with a list of friends you should look out for. Yes, thank you, Miss MG. So, yes, researchers have found that friends who distract you from your goals are the worst kind to change, are also should be ditched as well. Alright, thank you, MG, for your expert opinion, but these are all bullshit. None of these things have anything to do with you, and they don't mean that this person is a toxic person, period. Most likely, we have been a toxic friend throughout our lives as well. So I would like to stop labeling as just a toxic friend and see them for what they are. A person who is struggling right now, who is incompatible with me. Most people put others in the category of a toxic friend or a toxic person because they perceive them as a danger or a threat. Notice how I said perceive. That's because there is no such thing as a toxic friend or a toxic person. Who are you to label someone as toxic? Are you toxic? Make your own bed before trying to change the world, maybe. Mind your business. No, but seriously, don't get involved if you're not involved. If we all just minded our own business, all these problems would not exist. Take a friend who cheats on their partner. Of course, it is morally wrong, and it would be right for the person to know. And you can still keep them in check and tell them that it's wrong, and try to encourage them to do the right thing. But after that, it is not your cup of tea anymore. Just take yourself out of the situation and mind your business. That's their shit they need to invest time and energy on to solve, not yours. It's a different question whether or not you want to stay friends with a person like that, but technically, it is none of your business what they're doing and what they're not doing. You can make the world a better place by living up to your own standards and not telling others what they should and should not do. And you can choose to associate with people like that or others. Don't think you can change anyone or anything by snooping into other people's responsibilities. This way, it won't pose a threat to your own peace whenever people do something stupid, which they will. Right. Because everyone will. Low self-esteem, low self-worth, jealousy, anger, just a hard time at their job or family. There are a million reasons for why a person is envious, self-destructive, gossipy, or selfish, although we've established that it is not always wrong to have your own best interest in mind. Simply, they wouldn't behave like this if they had healed themselves or if they were content with themselves. But they aren't, and that does not make someone a toxic person. They might go through a toxic phase, and maybe you've met them at the wrong time in the wrong place. But that does not make the whole person bad or toxic. It might just be circumstantial. This way of thinking might enable us to step away from people who are not compatible with us or are not good for us too, with peace of mind. Of course, while still acknowledging your feelings of anger and disappointment. Instead of seeing a friendship breakup as a forever thing, there is always the possibility that you will meet again in 10 years and you see a completely changed person. And sometimes, when we think that someone is toxic, we wish to see them fail. We have these feelings of revenge, which is so normal. This is so human, like, I don't know. This way of seeing toxic friends or toxic people in general gives me peace of mind, because ultimately anger and resentment and feelings of revenge and hate, they don't harm anyone but yourself. Anger kills the angry person and not the so-called enemy. Students of the martial arts know that anger indicates weakness, and it is a tool that we are handing to our opponent or our enemy. So maybe next time you're dealing with a toxic friend, try to see them as just a person who's having a toxic phase instead of a toxic character. This next point might be a bit controversial, but I think you attract what you are, or you attract your lessons. So toxic people are your mirror. You're welcome. So, Jordan Peterson once said, "Don't think it is easier to surround yourself with good, healthy people than with bad, unhealthy people. Because it's not. A good, healthy person is an ideal, and it requires strength and daring to stand up near such a person. But then also, a basic human principle is that we feel most at home with people whose self-esteem is most similar to us, and that might explain the saying misery loves company, because whenever our self-esteem is really bad, it makes us feel more comfortable to surround ourselves with people who are similarly toxic. If we constantly find ourselves surrounded by people with bad habits or bad people, we're most likely one of them, or at least very similar, because our surroundings shift our understanding of what's normal. So it only makes sense that it resonates within our own habits. So that would mean that we attract what we are, or we attract the lessons we haven't learned yet. Let me explain. Your subconscious condition will influence your perception. So when you're in a happy and self-confident state, you'll perceive the shortcomings of others more gracefully and forgiving. For people with higher self-esteem, vitality and openness is naturally more attractive to them than emptiness and dependency. And the other way around, when you're anxious, angry, or whatever, you will perceive others as a threat more easily. And people with low self-esteem will feel like they've found a soulmate when they unconsciously have looked for someone with similar low self-esteem. Similarly low self-esteem. So basically, how you perceive a situation always depends on how you're doing. The higher your own self-esteem, the higher the chances are that you will engage in a friendship that is more fruitful rather than in toxic ones. Therefore, toxic friends only reveal to you what kind of boundaries you haven't set yet, or what kinds of behaviors you're still accepting, or what kind of bad habits you want to let go of. But ultimately, it is your responsibility to make yourself happy and your life better, and in the best case, not hurt anyone by doing that. But the same holds true for your toxic friend, and sometimes interests clash, and it doesn't mean that people are bad or good. It just means that interests are not compatible. It is hard not to label someone as toxic. Well, sometimes it is necessary and easier to just label someone as toxic to protect ourselves. And it is hard not to label someone and judge someone based on their behavior. Nevertheless, there are better ways to protect yourself and eliminate people from your life without harming yourself. Judging too much, being angry, stuff like that. Don't judge. Only God can judge me. Yeah? So, fuck off.
That sounds kind of weird, but I feel like if you have a good friend, you kind of have to not give a about what they're doing too much. So, being somewhat detached from another. I'm turning this interview around. It's my YouTube channel now. I'm taking over, guys. You can feel when you're around a good friend, and you feel kind of safe to say whatever you want. However ridiculous your thoughts might be, you can share it with your friend, with a good friend, and they will listen, and they won't judge, and they're open to what you're saying, right? They don't have to be open. I mean, they can have their own opinions, of course, but yeah, usually they're kind of open. A good friend is open.
You feel safe to be stupid as well.
The most important thing in a friendship is understanding each other. I feel like it's really important